Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Nextv Series Europe conference. So we have a few panels coming up for the afternoon, and we start now with a new session hosted by Broadpeak. We will be talking about the launch of a new TV service in Europe with Settin. So how to scale video delivery, the best practices when working on a hybrid approach with on-prem and cloud services. Also, what are the operating challenges and what are the next steps and innovations that our speakers are looking forward to. My name is Ophelia and I will be moderating this panel's discussion. So we have 30 minutes ahead of us, so don't hesitate to drop questions for our speakers in the Q&A section, and we will answer at the end of their discussion. So first we have with us Ran Janaj, who's the VP TV and Media for Czech operator Settin. So can you please tell us a little bit more about your position, what's your background, and what you're working on in terms of TV services in Czech, please?
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Ran Janaj. I'm originally from Israel, started TV services back then in 2011 in an operator called Cellcom. We launched an OTT solution in 2014, one of the first operators around the globe who generated end-to-end video services and TV services for VOD, catch-up, and everything back then in 2014. It is and still the biggest OTT solution in Israel. About approximately 18 months ago, I have been relocated to Czech Republic. And here in the Settin group, Settin is a group of companies across Europe. We are building the infrastructure for a full OTT cloud solution, which will allow customers to launch quickly an end-to-end TV solution. And when I'm referring into end-to-end TV solution, I'm more referring to everything, including the backend and the front end and the CDN and the monitoring and the NOC, even content preparation. So we are actually building an end-to-end solution, which is about to be launched soon in Europe, which will allow everyone to actually have a TV without actually managing it. Because part of the challenges for operators is that they need to build engineering team, testing team, operation team, whatever. And this is what we are trying to build for our customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Ran. And we also have with us today Xavier Leclerc, who's the VP Business Development for Broadpeak. So can you also please introduce yourself and maybe let us know on what you're working right now with Settin?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Xavier. I run the business development team here at Broadpeak. Broadpeak is a provider of video delivery technology, so very much focused on CDN, Multicast TBR, cloud DVR, and everything around that, so analytics and advertising as well. My background is very much IP video and CDN. I've been in the field for quite a while now, probably 10, 15 years, having worked for companies like Akamai, Nokia, and Alcatel, so very much specialized in the link between networks and video. Always found that quite interesting. Basically my role here at Broadpeak is to focus on the mid and long-term relationships with key partners. So we work with a variety of partners through the industry, and also key customers. And like Settin today, we've been in contact, and we thought it'd be an interesting session to talk a little bit about what we're doing together at Settin.
Thank you very much, both of you. So to start a little bit now and go in the topic, so Settin is a part of the PPF group, and you're looking to launch TV services across several European markets. So what are the main challenges that you are encountering now when it comes to video delivery? And can you maybe, Ran, start with this topic, and then we'll see on the tech side with Xavier afterwards also.
Okay, thank you for the good question, because actually when you are launching a solution for a group of operators, actually in order to be efficient and in order to be able to maintain the solution for the long term, you have to make sure that you are having a single group solution and you are not developing and making things twice, 3 times with small deviation, which later on generate a lot of overhead and a lot of problems. When we are talking about like the video delivery network, the first thing and the most important thing for the customer is that keep it simple. It should work. It doesn't matter like the functionality and how fancy it is, if by the end of the day, when someone is opening his TV sets and the video is not coming, and he cannot see the game that he paid for. So therefore, the most important thing is the stability and the continuity of the video. And for that, definitely you must get a really good video delivery network. And when we are talking about a video delivery network, it starts with the head and goes through the monitoring, then to the origin, CDNs, but then a full and a good integration with the player itself. And what are the feedbacks that you are able to collect and how you are better able to monitor and to improve the service on a daily basis in order to generate the right and the good user experience, which is the most important thing. And as I mentioned, focus all the time on the end-to-end services, not to say that I'm having like an amazing CDN, but X is not working or Y. By the end of the day, we are delivering the service, which sometimes when we are talking about operators, by the way, also includes routers and also include sometimes, I don't know, set-top boxes. So by the end of the day, it's important that the whole ecosystem will be orchestrated by one entity who can control everything. And this is how I see it. What is the, let's call it the challenges and what has to be done in order to deliver by the end of the day, a TV service, which is definitely relying on the video.
Thank you. So yeah, you mentioned especially end customers, so how to focus on them and keep the services simple, stable, and continuous. Xavier, can you tell us now how Broadpeak is helping operators to work on those issues?
Yeah, so I think what is interesting here is that consumers simply don't put up with poor quality of experience, right? We've seen that for a little while. We know that the tolerance threshold, if you like, for events, bad events happening during the streaming, like rebuffering, that's the tolerance level is very low, right? People will simply leave a service, they will abandon a service if they see rebuffering too often, right? So we know this is clearly an issue. Latency also comes into play. Right, latency is usually associated with a poor quality of the service. Right, my video service is of a poor quality, so much that my live video is 30 seconds, 40 seconds behind the real live, right, behind broadcast. So this is, this is where we are. Customers simply don't put up with a poor quality of experience. And what it means is that we need to deploy a distributed CDN, right? A CDN that will deliver on the quality that is expected. And I think there are two aspects here, right? The first one is, I would say, naturally, right? By deploying a distributed CDN, you reduce the distance between your servers and the clients. So, with a smaller distance, less problems are likely to happen, right? So that's, I think the basic, benefit of CDN, good quality of experience by distributing your caches, but also you need to engineer this delivery, right? And this is what Ran was talking about, combining the network with the CDN to define, for example, your primary and secondary delivery path, right? And define, how the load is going to be distributed. If one region is overloaded in a country, how can I distribute the load across the other regions? So all of this comes into play to deliver a good quality of experience.
Thank you very much. So yeah, you both mentioned quite a lot quality of experience, but there are also other challenges. Maybe from Ran's point of view as an operator, you can talk about other types of challenges like cost management.
Yeah, actually, if you are having a good video solution which you are feeling comfortable with, this is one thing. But just 1 second after you launch, you are having different challenges. First one is to keep it working as it should be, but the second is also to maintain the growth, to maintain the video delivery network scale. And for that, there are many models, whether or not you are going to the cloud from day one, or you are having on-prem, or you are doing something in the middle. From my experience, and I will be happy or maybe to find out later on, that maybe I'm mistaken, but up until now, I was not able to see a single business case for a, let's call it, medium large scale operator who is able to do everything in the cloud in terms of using a third party video delivery network. Whenever like I was asked to build a business case, and when I was examining those let's call it solutions, I was never able to justify why not to do it on-prem. Therefore, everyone starting and everyone doing it on-prem. But then there is a challenge. There is twice a year, 3 times a year, once a quarter, there is like 2 hours that you need to have the peak. What are you doing? Are you about to acquire more servers, to install them, to pay for the operation and maintenance, etc., just for 2 hours a quarter? Or are you suggest or you prefer to offload to the cloud? So something that we are about to do, or we are already doing, by the way, with Broadpeak, is like we are having CDN servers all across Europe in different countries. But whenever we feel that something is about, or we will need to do some offloading, we can plan it in advance and then offloading to the cloud. There are a lot of like basic assumptions what need to happen in order to offload to the cloud, but those are configurable. Those can be done in advance, and therefore we are able to control it. It's not that automatically without any control, you need to pay for a third party in order to keep delivering the network. We can control everything together with Broadpeak. And by that, we are able to manage the cost. This is one thing. And definitely we have to be cost effective. So I was talking about that the cloud is costly in terms of CDN, in terms of video delivery network. On the other end, we have selected our vendor for the backend and for the infrastructure who is having like a cloud solution. So we are going on a hybrid mode. Backend is definitely in the cloud, and we will be able to enjoy the scalability and the agility of the cloud. Video delivery network, we prefer to do it on-prem and just on edge cases to go and to serve from the cloud in order to have the video continuity for our customers, even in events like elections, super classicals, etc.
Okay, thank you very much. And you mentioned a lot of different challenges that operators have to keep up with, have to be really aware of and pay attention to. Can you maybe also tell us what would be the mistakes to avoid? What are the bad cases scenario?
Okay, so unfortunately, I'm having, like we used to say in Israel, many bruises on my back because of many mistakes that we did in the past. Usually, the mistakes are related to human errors, which has been done during the configuration or during some, I don't know, night shifts, whatever, that someone forgot to do something. No one knows about it until the money time. And then, for example, one time we realized that, I don't know, a 10 gig interface towards the origin was not configured successfully and there was a video lagging. One time we never, and this is like a good hint to everyone, we had an elections in Israel. It's, by the way, it's really common. It's happened every few months, unfortunately, or once a year. And we planned everything in advance. We forecast the traffic. We extended back then, we extended the hardwares and the CDN, but we didn't expected that the zapping time will be 26 times more than the previous peak. So the CDNs were performing well, but the component which was supposed to be responsible for the zapping and for the allocations of the URL for the video servers just crashed, and within 3 minutes, we were not able to do any channel zapping. So there are like many stuff and many examples that I can share. On the other end, the fact that gradually we are like more relying on vendors who having the experience and did it more than one times and having the knowledge and the scalability and the capabilities, I think that this is the right way to move forward. Just to trust on a reasonable vendor will do the work for you because they are the experts. They need to do it in a proper way. They must prepare the architecture in advance. They must build from day one something which is you will be able to extend and not to come a day after and say, okay, we forgot to do something. Now you need to purchase new hardware and new components, which will take a long time and will cost you a lot. So trust the vendor, but also trust yourself and make sure that human errors will be able to be advised in advance. Meaning like you will be able to see that something is about to happen and not just one day something is happening. It's also related to monitoring and to capabilities that the operator must build in his network in order to see trends and to see that something is about to happen and not just to accept that something bad happened and now we need to look into it.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned also earlier that you're working on a hybrid approach with a combination of on-prem and cloud services. Can you maybe explain the reasoning behind this approach? And then we also can ask Xavier to give us some insights from Broadpeak's side.
Yeah, no problem. The CDN part, it's easy. From a TCO perspective, it should start and it should be on-prem until something will happen in the cloud, which is still not happening. Offloading makes sense to do it on the cloud and just to pay the extra mile for a specific event, it's easy. Regarding the backend itself, I found that it's worth also in terms of TCO, but mainly in terms of operation and maintenance to go into cloud solutions and to be able to enjoy the scalability, to be able to enjoy the agility of the cloud. And if, for example, we are talking about a super classical and you need to, I don't know, double or triple the amount of resources that you need for the encryption or whatever, it can be automatically done. No one need to purchase hardware in advance to configure, to test, to do night shifts, whatever. Definitely, if you are having a vendor which you can rely on and having a scalable solution in the cloud, you can just lean back and see how it goes. You don't need to do anything. Otherwise, you as an operator spending huge amount of money of doing it instead of having a cloud solution which will do it on behalf of you.
Xavier, your take on this as a tech provider?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because everybody talks about the cloud, but sometimes when we work with customers, telco, cable cos, companies, the biggest asset they have is the network, right? Because the network gives you a clear advantage when it comes to delivering your services. It becomes basically deterministic, right? You know that you're going to be delivering your services with a good quality. If you want to deliver your services from afar, say, for example, a peering point, you will have very little control, right? So this is interesting. I think when we look at the industry, there are a number of examples of, delivery that is done on net close to the end users. Talking with Ran, we could elaborate a little bit on Netflix, for example. When you use Netflix, you are basically served typically from a cache that is inside the operator's network, right? So it is, in a way similar to what we're describing here, a backend fully cloud, and then, the delivery that is done on net. And I think if you look across the industry as well, there are some, frankly, striking examples with the public cloud, right? So if you take Google Cloud or if you take Amazon Wavelength, for example, this is a public cloud those are two public clouds basically going back inside the operator network to give this advantage, right? Both platforms, you can use them to host your mobile applications, things that have to be in the network. So you're extending the public cloud back into the on-prem, back into the network. So clearly there's an advantage of, having the network to deliver the best experience.
Thank you. I would just remind the audience that we are gladly taking any questions that you have. We only have 10 minutes left, so please don't hesitate to drop your comments and questions in the Q&A box. Another question will be, since we're evolving on a very competitive TV and video streaming industry, especially for new players coming in, how will you address the competition both from global and local players, and how do you build a winning proposition in terms of video delivery?
Okay, so currently we in Settings, we are building a solution which is targeted to more than definitely one customer. We are embracing the two options. The first option is, let's call it the orthodox one, that the operator must have a huge amount of content. He must serve all the VOD catalogs that he can embrace. And by that, he needs to spend huge amount of money on content and also on storages and some technology aspects. The second option, which we also support, is having a role of an content aggregator. If you are using the right platforms, for example, Android TV, definitely you can allow your customers to enjoy all the linear channels together with catch up and network PVR and all the functionality which the user likes to have. And then on top of that, to allow the customer from the same box to top up content like Netflix and the rest. Something which Xavier was sharing about Netflix, and it's important. Netflix had and still having huge challenges of delivering video, and they are delivering it in an amazing way. One of the things that they are doing, they are installing their, let's call it black boxes, all over the world in all the biggest ISPs in order to be as close as they can to their customers. And whenever they are identifying an ISP which is serving too many or enough customers, they are deploying their boxes there, and by that providing a better user experience for their customers. So this is one thing regarding like Disney and Netflix and HBO and what is the strategy. We in Setting allows everyone to choose whether or not you want to come with your huge let's call it VOD, or you want to come lean and to come fast and just to allow your customers to enjoy Netflix and HBO and Amazon and the rest. Second important thing is the network. From my experience in Cellcom, when we had like our network, we were able to make sure that our customers will get a good user experience. Just to set the scene, in Netflix, when there is a problem, they are asking you to go to your ISP and check what is happening. But usually operators selling triples and bundles, and you are buying everything from them. So you as a TV provider cannot tell your customer, please check the ISP, because you are also providing the ISP. But if you are controlling the ISP, controlling the router and the TV service, you are able to deliver an holistic TV solution and to be able to prioritize the right video feeds and to do whatever it takes in order to provide a good TV solution. On top of that comes the need to control and to manage your network, and then comes in the multicast. Because whenever the traffic is high for events like, again, football matches, etc., the need of multicast is coming. And multicast, let's call it the traditional multicast, related mainly for set-top boxes that you need to integrate, to test, etc. And something that Cellcom did about 3 years ago, they launched the Broadpeak Multicast TBR, which actually allow everyone to have a multicast service from one hand. On the other hand, not just for set-top boxes, but you are able to, together with Broadpeak and together with the front end and the back end of Broadpeak, you are able to get multicast for mobiles and tablets, which does not exist on a regular and orthodox like multicast solution, for smart TVs, etc. And by that, you are able to decrease the cost of your network, the cost of the CDNs, etc. And since they launched in Cellcom about, as I mentioned, something like 3 years ago, there was a significant savings on the network cost, which is extremely important. And also the users are able to use more bandwidth in their houses because they are sharing the same bandwidth which comes for several devices in parallel.
Thank you very much, Han. Xavier, maybe can you tell us a little bit more about how you're working with operators on this environment? And we mentioned multi-screen, we mentioned multicast ABR. What is Broadpeak doing with that?
Yeah, so I think Rand said it all already with Multicast TBR, right? Sometimes I like to say it's the combination of the reliability, of multicast, the scalability of multicast as well with the versatility of ABR, right? Able to reach any device in the home. So you marry the two together and you do get at the end, some interesting technology that can reach any device and will deliver a very good experience, no rebuffering, no latency, so this is interesting. And maybe just to complement what Rand said earlier, we see multicast TBR maturing quite quickly, right? So standardization is helping. We have the first version of a DVB standard for multicast TBR that we've helped to get out. I think it was about a year ago. And there is a second version of multicast TBR from DVB that is currently being worked on. So, definitely a technology that is gathering momentum. And something we feel like is going to be instrumental to give the right quality of experience going forward.
Thank you. And to keep on going with the last 5 minutes, what innovations are you working on now? Xavier, can you talk about what's coming next for Broadpeak?
Yeah, so there's an interesting one that is worth mentioning, technology that Setin is actually currently deploying. This is something called S4 streaming. And the idea is that in some cases, the network operator has to take control of the streaming session, right? So today, in your standard ABR world, all the devices are making the decisions on what quality I'm going to use. And what we see is sometimes, if you have, for example, a sudden peak of demand for the content, you may want to control how the content is delivered on a temporary basis by introducing some policies, right? So you may decide that some streams should be impacted first by the congestions, and some streams should be protected for the congestion. To give you an example, it's a little bit like your ABS, in your car. If you brake too hard, the car takes control of the brakes and temporarily, you avoid you from sliding, you avoid something bad happening, right? So similar thing here with the network. When the network or the CDN is overloaded, the CDN can control the quality being delivered. You can introduce basically policies saying if I have a premium user, I'm going to protect this experience against maybe the rest of the streams. You can combine it with content rules, right? So you might say, for example, the live football, it's a bit of a topic today, the live football, right? Live football is more important than the cartoons that may be on demand as part of an SVOD package. And you can also do it on devices, right? So you may say, I'm delivering a stream to a 4K Apple TV. This is more important than a stream delivered to an iPhone, right? So we're excited to be launching this with Setin, and maybe I'll let Ran explain how S4 streaming is being used today.
Just before we finish, because we only have 2 minutes left, there's a question for Ran actually, but it's also related to innovation in this regard. Is there any specific challenges when it comes to delivering video over cellular networks?
I don't think that we can say a challenge, because this is something which is already done for years. And actually, all the, let's call it TV players, which are having some footprints on the cellular, are doing it for years. I think like we all learned that having like adaptive bitrate, it's mandatory as I see it for cellular networks, because then if you have good receptions or good bandwidth, you can see HD and even 4K. If not, you can go to SD. So definitely you need to adjust the video quality into different set form between mobiles and TVs. So therefore you will be able to provide a proper video quality to mobile. So I don't see a challenge, but there is going to be like a different state of mind, how to handle mobiles and how to handle, let's call it the big screens. Because of the stability of the connectivity and the fact that you have a smaller screen, so you can adjust the video bitrate and the resolution.
Thank you. And maybe to finish on what Xavier just mentioned earlier, can you explain how we can manage congestion in the CDN and come back to the topic just previously?
This is like a very good question, because there are like many ways how to handle it, and it's a kind of a state of mind of approach of let's call it the operator. From one hand, you can just increase the network in advance and to be able to have 20-30% more, let's say, capabilities of the network, but this is extremely costly, and I don't think that no one is doing it. On the other end, you can do something similar to what we are about to do with Broadpeak, is to be able to offload to the cloud. And the third option is, until you are getting into a specific threshold, you are acting as usual. But if you are passing it, you need to automatically or even manually sometimes to make sure that not all the customers will get like the full HD, and by that you will be able to save capacity. But this is actually hurting the customer experience, because those customers will see, for example, SD for amount of time. And this is usually should be done ad hoc, which is a problem. You don't want someone will log in on Sunday night or whatever and do something, and by mistake he can do really huge damages to the whole video delivery network. So usually operators try to avoid it.
Okay, thank you very much, both of us. So that's the end of our session for today. Stay tuned, please, because in 10 minutes we're coming back with a country focus on Israel, and we will host the session with Sina Media and Partner Communications. So I know that Xavier know them very well. See you in a few minutes, and thank you, Han and Xavier, for being with us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.